Thank you for coming to Trigonometry with Mr. Pacho. No, just kidding. All right, Chapter 8. Okay, World Star, right? Okay. All right, Chapter 8 review.
Cheese.
For this one right here, we're going to go through and work out the problems. Now, for this right here, I'm going to go and I'm going to set it up by factoring. So for number 1, it's going to be negative radical negative 9. It's going to be the same as going negative. Then I'm going to factor out a negative 1 times radical 9, because this one right here could break up at negative 1 times 9. So the negative 1 is going to give me I, and this gives me 3, right? So together I'm going to get a negative 3i. Okay. Number 2. I'm going to do, you can do quadratic formula, or you could try and solve it using just solving for x. For this one right here, I'm going to just solve for x. Because quadratic formula is a little bit more difficult if you guys don't understand that there is 0 x's.
So we just subtract 80?
Yeah, because we have 1x squared, 0 x's, and then 80 here. So I'm going to go for number 2. Now, subtract 80 to both sides. So I get x squared is equal to negative 80 right now. And then square root. Whenever I take a square root here, I square root both sides, it's going to be x equals plus or minus square root of negative 80. Now, I'm going to factor that out. So I'm going to factor that out. That's going to factor out into plus or minus square root of, let's start with the negative 1, times, now, what perfect squares can I get out of here? There's a 9?
No.
What about a 16? Let's try that. 80 divided by 16.
5.
It's 5. So 16 is a perfect square, right? So it's going to be square root of 16 times square root of 5. I use 16 because that gives me 4, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be 4. This is going to give me I, and since the radical 5 doesn't do anything, it stays there. So it's going to be, an answer is going to be x is equal to plus or minus, I'm going to have 4i rad 5. Okay, and that's it. So my answer is D. Number 3. All right, number 3. I'm going to get square root of negative 125 times square root of negative 5. Now, to be able to do this, you can't just multiply straight away because I'm going to end up getting rid of my negatives on the inside. I need to factor those out first. So this is going to be, I'm going to factor out the I, so that's my square root of negative 1, times, now, is there a perfect square in here? 25, right? So there's the 25 times radical 5 times, now I'm going to take out the I on this one, I rad 5. So now when I do my multiplication, it's all being multiplied together. So I'm going to get a I squared times, what is this?
5.
That's going to be 5 times, now when I multiply 5 times 5, I'm going to end up with 25, right?
Yeah.
So rad 25 gives me 5 again, right? Okay, because the i's went together over here. Now, when I square a negative 1, like this is my I, right? So when I take this and I square it, what does the square root do?
It takes a radical.
Yeah, it gets rid of the radical, right? So this is going to become negative 1. That's going to give me negative 1 there. So this is going to be 5 times 5 is 25, and this makes it a negative, so it is negative 25 for my answer. What's that, C? Yeah. Okay. Number 4. Number 4, I'm going to factor out the I first. So factor out the I, and then I'm going to have a big radical. So I'm going to combine them first. So 216 over 36. I could do that if I have radical on top and bottom. I could put it over like this. So now 216 divided by 36.
6.
Yep, I get 6 there. So this is going to give me just, and that's 6 left on the inside, right?
Yes.
So it's going to be I radical 6. So my answer is,
B. Oh no, A.
there we go.
Can I see number 3?
Number 3. Right here.
Oh, Jimmy's just tired and didn't.
All right, 5. Take a look at 5. All right, on 5 here, I'm going to have 2 plus radical negative 24 over 2. I'm going to break this up into 2 over 2 plus, now let's do some factoring. So I'm going to take out the I,
Radical 6.
and it's going to be radical 4
Radical
times radical 6. Why did I choose radical 4?
Because
It's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect. And all this is going to be over 2, right?
Yes.
But now, radical 4 is 2, isn't it? So this and this will
Cancel out.
cancel out. So I'll cancel that. So I'm left with 2 divided by 2 is 1 plus I rad 6. And that's C.
C.
Okay. Number 6. Now I'm going to show you guys the long and short way for number 6. The long and short way for number 6. Okay. So we got 2 different long ways for number 6, but I'm going to start with the first one. Not the not so long way. So anyway, so it's going to be number 6. I'm going to try and 2 plus 3i over 5 plus 4i. Now, because I'm not allowed to have a radical in the denominator, I is a radical. It's the square root of negative 1. So I'm going to multiply this by the conjugate. So the conjugate of the bottom is going to be the different sign right here. So 5 minus 4i over 5 minus 4i. So when I distribute these on top, I get 10. And that's going to be minus 8i plus 15i, and then minus 12. Very good. Over. Now, when I FOIL this out, the middle terms go away. So when I multiply, I only need the first 2 and the last 2. So it's going to be 25, and then minus
16 squared.
I squared. So whenever I do the conjugate, those middle terms always go away. And so I could just do that part. So now, I know that I squared is negative 1, right? So if I squared is negative 1, let me move this up a little bit. There we go. If I squared is negative 1, that's positive 12 and positive 10. Positive 12, positive 10. 42 plus, how many i's? Nope, we got negative 8 and positive 15. What do I have left?
That is 7.
7i all over. Now, this is going to make this a plus, right?
Yeah.
So 25 and 16 gives me?
41. Wait.
How'd you get 42?
41.
It's 22. I'm sorry. That's 22.
I just said
Yeah, you go like.
I'm sorry. I blame Jimmy. Jimmy said 42, so I was like,
said 22.
okay. So now for right here, this one is supposed to be 22 because 10 plus 12 is 22. I'm sorry. All right, so now I have this one right here. Now the only thing I need to do is make sure I separate it. So when I separate it, I get 22 over 41 plus 7i over 41 is my answer. Okay, so that's going to be which question? Which one? D. Now, okay, this is what usually is going to make people real salty right now. Let's plug it in the calculator. Start my fraction. So it's 2 plus 3i over 5 plus 4i. Hit enter.
Really, Pacho? Really?
Yeah.
Couldn't have told us this before?
No, I couldn't because I didn't change the calculator to your mode because I want you to actually do the math. So now that you learn the math, I'll show you the shortcut. So well, I know when you did it on your homework, you had to do it the long way.
So can we do that for 7 and 8 too?
Yep. So Jimmy just asked if we could do that on 7 and 8. Let's do that on 7 and 8 to see what we get. 7 says 4 minus I over negative 5 plus 9i.
The answer is B.
So I get an answer, and the answer is...
B.
Now, before you guys get into too much, I want to point out a couple things. To be able to do this on the calculator, I intentionally did not turn on this on your calculator yet when we were doing it the first time. I actually intentionally went and turned it off. But now that we know how to do it, I taught it, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it in the calculator. So a couple things in the calculator. So you need to go to 7. It's my settings, my document settings. Couple things. Degree. All the angles that we're dealing with right now are in degree. There's one on the back that is a radian, but you're going to have to change that one yourself. Now, right here, real or complex? Real or complex? The a plus bi is a rectangular form, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a real form and there's rectangular form. Rectangular is a plus bi, which allows a non-real number. It gives you i's for an answer. Okay, so that's the one that actually changes it there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only difference right there. I didn't have that. I actually had that turned off when we were actually doing it the first time through. Okay, so let's go through and try 6. Or I'm sorry, number 8.
The answer is D.
6 over 11i. And what was the answer?
D.
So do you think we could do number 9 in the calculator? Let's try it. 6 plus 3i. Close. Minus sign. This is important. Minus sign. Open parentheses. Negative 8 plus I.
14 is C.
C.
Answer C. Think we do number 10 in the calculator?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's try it. Open. 6 plus 3i. Close. Minus. A lot of people are having trouble with the minus sign, so that's why I keep emphasizing that. Negative 7 plus 8i. Close. Plus parentheses. Negative 7 plus 6i.
B.
6 plus I. Think we do it again on 11?
Yeah.
Yep, let's do it again on 11. 7 minus 3i.
40 minus 42.
The answer is C.
40 minus 42i.
Yes. C.
The answer is... This looks like it's going to end up being one of the easiest, quickest tests we'll ever have, right?
More of the same.
Can we do 12 the same way?
Yes, the answer is A.
Okay, let's see.
Jimmy's using cheat codes.
What is the cheat code anyway?
Google.
ABA, CABB?
Up, down, left, right, X, X.
Right?
Down, left, right.
Someone knows the actual code.
Yep.
Minus 2I,
The answer is A.
parentheses, 9 minus 2I. Right here, I have 22 plus 14I. Number 13, we'll do the same thing.
Negative 62 minus 58I.
Negative 5. You guys are way ahead of me here. Minus 9I. That's good. That means that you guys actually know what you're doing.
Yep.
So, it's like someone taught you something right. I don't know who that is, but you know what? Could have been me. You were sleeping in class. Close. There we go. I know. Negative 62 minus 58I.
B.
B. Number 14. Now, I can't do the same thing for 14. I can, but it'll give me a decimals. But I want you guys to actually do this by hand because it's important. You guys need to match these answers. Because you're going to see stuff like this on the short answer questions. And you're going to need to know how to do this. So I'm gonna convert to CIS anyway. So on number 14 we have 3 CIS of 135 times 2 CIS of 90. Now when I'm multiplying, what do I do with my radius?
You add them.
Try again.
You multiply them.
Multiply, right? I multiply the radius, and what do I do with my angles?
You add them.
I add them. There we go. So it's going to be 6 CIS of 135 and 90 gives me 225. Now we're going to turn this back to rectangular. So it's 6 times cosine of 225 plus I sine of 225. So cosine of 225 is negative rad 2 over 2 plus I times negative rad 2 over 2. And got my 6. Now when I distribute this, remember it always goes to the top.
Yes.
It always goes to the top. So it's going to be 6 over 2.
3,
Gives me negative 3.
2,
Rad 2.
plus
Now, but I have a plus and a minus, so that's going to become
Negative.
a negative. Very good. So it's going to be, again, 6 over 2 reduces
3i.
I rad 2. Now, got to make sure it is in the rectangular form, so I'm putting a rectangle around it. So the answer is B. Like I said, these ones like this are showing up on the short answer, so you need to know how to do it. Okay, number 15. Same thing, 4 CIS of 135 times 6 CIS of 225. So 24 CIS of 135 plus 225 gives me 360. But I don't put 360. What do I put?
Too high or not too high?
0, right?
Yeah.
0. Because between 0 and 360, I could put either, but I could have 0, but I'm not supposed to have 360 for this. So it's going to be a 0. 0 degrees right there. Now, for that, now I'm going to expand it. So it's 24 times cosine of 0 plus I sine at 0. So 24. Now, what is cosine at 0? 1 plus I. Now, what's sine at 0? 0. As I distribute, I'm going to get
24 plus I.
plus 0 I. Because anything times 0 is
0.
0. So when I distribute that, it's going to be 0 anyway.
Yeah.
So my answer comes out to be just
24.
24. Just 24 by itself. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is B.
Yes, very good. All right, so now when we divide, what do we do? What do we do with our radius first?
You divide them,
We divide the radius
and then you subtract the top and the bottom.
and subtract the angles, right?
Yeah, the bottom.
Top from the bottom. So it's going to be 8 over 3 CIS of, now, this one minus this one, right? So it's 90 minus 30 is 60. So I'm going to expand this, so it's going to be 8 over 3 times cosine of 60 plus I sine of 60. So cosine of 60 is rad 3 over 2 plus I times sine at 60 is 1/2. Now I'm going to go through and have to distribute. When I distribute, the 8 and 2 will reduce, won't it?
Yeah.
It'll reduce and it'll be 4 over 1, right?
Yeah.
So if that reduces to 4 over 1, I'm still going to have a 4 on top and a 3 on bottom, right?
Yes.
So as I distribute, it's going to give me 4 rad 3 over, what's left on bottom?
3.
3, right? Because this is going to reduce to a 1, so 3 times 1 is 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now then it's going to be plus, then same thing over here, right? The
Yeah.
8 and 2, so it's going to be 4I over 3. So as I distribute that, that's what I end up with. Okay, questions there?
Nope.
Okay,
Answer C.
answers what?
C.
C. All right, let me see. C. There we go. That was number 16. All right, so let's take a look at 17 then. 17 says, I have 20 CIS of 154 over 4 CIS of 34. Okay, so now, again, division, I'm going to divide the first two, so it's going to give me 5 CIS of 154 minus 34 gives me
120.
120. Okay, I have 120, and now I'm going to expand this one out. So as I expand this one right here, I'm going to get 5 times cosine of 120 plus I sine of 120. So now I get these numbers from my unit circle. So it's going to be 5 times, now cosine is going to give me,
Rad 2.
no,
Rad
co-
3.
cosine at 120.
Negative 1/2.
Negative 1/2. Yes? No?
Yes.
Negative 1/2 plus I. Now what is sine at 120?
Rad 2.
Rad 3 over 2. Yes? Hopefully?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so now as I distribute, remember you only distribute to the top. You would divide by the bottom or reduce by the bottom. So that's going to give me a negative 5
5 over 2.
and plus
5 rad 3 over 2.
5I rad 3 over 2. You can't forget your i's there. So that answer gives me, so negative 5 over 2 plus 5I rad 3 over 2.
C.
Looks like C, right? Okay. All right, 18. Okay, so number 18. Okay, so for 18 here, okay, find the quotient in rectangular form, so I'm going to rewrite it. So it's going to be 10 over 5 CIS of 45 minus 135, right?
Yes.
What's that going to give me?
Negative 90.
Negative 90, right? Now, can I have a negative?
No.
No, what do I do?
Add 360.
Add 360, so it's going to be,
270.
okay, so this is going to give me 2. 2 CIS of 270. So for this one right here, I'm going to break it down again. So it's going to be 2 cosine 270 plus I sine of 270 So 2 cosine at 270 is? Anyone? 0, right? Cosine at 270 is 0.
Yes, and then it's -1.
Okay, so it's going to be minus I, right? -1 times I is negative I. Now, as I distribute that, I'm just going to get a -2I as my answer, right?
Yes.
Because there is no real portion to this. Okay, anything times 0 is 0. So I get that, so my answer is D. Number 19. Now, you'll like this one right here on 19. Because 19 is calculator. So let's do calculator for this one. Now, if you do it correctly, you have to put in enough parentheses. So let me go right here. So I'm going to start off with, now, as I enter this one, it's going to be a parentheses, because I need parentheses around the whole thing.
Yes.
Then I have 14 open parentheses. Now, CIS stands for cosine I sine. So it's cosine of 13.5 close plus I sine of 13.5. There you go. Now, the calculator automatically tells you how many closes it needs. So close for that one, close for the next one, and close for all of them. So that's just this first part right here. Now we have to do the same thing for the next part. So open, put your radius of 4. Now open again, and we do my cosine I sine. So it's going to be cosine of 8.5 close plus I sine of 8.5 close. You put it in correctly. 51.9 and 20. So my answer is? Answer has to be B. All right, I'm going to pause for a second. Anyone have any trouble with this? All right, okay. So let's go with our last one. So we answered that one. My last one is 20. So now, okay, I have to make sure I write this in correctly because this is really important. So my radius is 18.3. So I need to start it again. So parentheses.
Isn't it the open brackets?
No, no. Because that's just the way they wrote it here. But on your calculator, you put parentheses. Okay, 18.3. Open again. Okay, that's where I put my cosine I sine. Cosine is 3 pi over 5. So I'm going to put my division symbol right here. 3 pi over 5. Close that one. Plus sine. Don't forget your I. I almost forgot my I. I sine of 3 pi over 5. I have that. Okay, so now I close that one. So as soon as I have it all in there, make sure there's all my parentheses. And now, what do I have to do with the whole thing? Square, not square root, square. But before I do that, before I hit enter, what do I have to fix?
All the parentheses?
Nope. What do I got to fix? What's different about this?
Oh, the pies.
Kinda. What's different? Why is that? What does this mean right here, the 3 pi over 5? What does that mean?
Oh, it's in your unit circle.
Radians, thank you. That's important. That's radians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to fix that. So I'm going to hit my document, and I'm going to change this one. Remember at the beginning I said there was a problem that was not in degrees? So I'm changing the radians. Go through make default. Now I can hit enter. So -270 and then -196i.
Did you say say change it to radians?
C.
Has to be in radians. It has to be in radians because that 3 pi over 5 is radians.
You could put it in degrees, Pancho.
Huh?
You could put it in degrees.
I can force that, but I don't, why do more work?
Just 180 over pi.
I know, but still. Okay, all right. Don't forget, like and subscribe.